it was Sydney who said, never read a book that you intend to review. It biases one's soul. And I must say, I made the mistake, or I did the right thing. I read the book, and I must confess, I am biased too. The Wheel Turned by Malathi Ramachandran. I begin with 4 lines written by Maria Mans in Rhymes for Our Times. Borders are scratched across the hearts of men by strangers with a calm and judicial pen. And when borders bleed, we watch with dread. The lines across the map turn red. This is the setting against which Malathi has placed her novel, The Wheel Turned. And it is a story, as Sadhika said, which celebrates love between man and woman, and of course the love of one's country. And more importantly, the combination of the two that helps a man endure untold hardships of prison, torture and isolation. It takes you from Tirukarpagamike Koil, I hope I got it right, straight in Tamil Nadu, which she calls a little avenue tripping over its own name. And what an apt description that is. I could never forget that. To an army camp in Dharamshala, plantations in Dehradun, the northeast frontier, a Chinese prison camp, and a Tibetan village. You run through a whole gamut of emotions. There is love, there is hatred, there is hope, there is despair, there is frustration, boredom, excitement, you name it, we have it. And you meet authentic characters, not just from the south of India, I mean, I think it concentrates quite a bit on Tamil Nadu, but from all across India, the north and the south, and we share their joys and their sorrows. And then we come full circle to the realization that when the wheel turns, we turn with it. But at the still center of that turning wheel is love, faith, and integrity. These are values that will always remain the same, and these are values that can sustain us despite change and heartbreak. And that is something that comes through so strongly in the novel. Now, I will not dwell on the book for the simple reason that somebody has already done it before me. And besides, I believe that one can ruin a book by giving away the story quite unwittingly, not really meaning to, but you can still give away the whole story. So I will share with you what I know of Malathi as a writer. And I will concentrate more on her short stories, since we are here to launch her novel, and we have heard about the novel, and I'm sure all of you are going to read it. I'll tell you a little bit more about the steps she took before she came into writing the novel, or at least revising the novel. She first caught our attention when she won the 2nd prize in the British Council and Unison Short Story Competition. It was called The Summer of Party's Destiny. And the story was told, amazingly, with subtle humor and palpable suspense. And I find that an unusual, very unusual combination. I think Sadhika made the point that we can't, we in India always tend to labor sometimes when we write in English. And this combination of suspense and humor, very subtle humor, is indeed a rare combination. The next year, she went on to win yet another prize in the Unison Creative Writing Competition held in association with British Council. And of course, by now we knew that this new compelling voice that we had heard was here to stay. And this time the story was called Going Home, Babulal. And this story is the moving story of a man who works for years in the US without a glimpse of his loved ones or of his beloved country, because he realizes, sadly, that his family needed the money more than they needed him. But if you're expecting one of those heart-rending Dickensian stories where the author relentlessly wrings the last tear out of you, the ending will come as a pleasant and an unexpected surprise. Will not spoil it for you because I'm sure you'll go on to read it. After this, many of her short stories began to appear with unfailing regularity in our short story anthologies, such as The Cup of Chai, The Shrinking Woman, The Curse of the Bird. You name it, she's there in almost every one of our anthologies, and I think for very good reasons. Malathi can give us a whole range of characters, moods and settings. We have the terrifying Tara in The Prophecy, if you've read it, the simple and hardworking Babulal, the self-opinionated urban Missy Madam, who believes that she knows what is best for everyone in the village of Dongri, and the earthy, uneducated Danu, who is waging her own complex power struggle. We have and if you think that she can only display women to perfection, we have the rather unscrupulous Karan, who will do anything to get that visa to Canada, and Malinda, or Monica as she's called in Canada, who drives her own truck and knows that she must protect herself if she is to survive. In her short stories, she ranges in her settings from the close confines of a prison cell to a traditional Brahmin household in Chinatur, from a night in the Bandipur jungle to a seedy motel in Houston, from a little town in Hoshiarpur, Punjab to Vancouver in Canada. And because she's at home everywhere, so are we too, her readers. Needless to say, you can never quite anticipate the unexpected twists and turns that her stories will take. And that's part of her charm, that you can't say, oh, I knew it. You know, I knew that's how the story would end. You can never say that with Malathi, because her plots are rather complex. But all the same, you'll find that her complex plots are wedded to the most transparent and lucid of styles. But at this point, I should remind you what Hawthorne said. Easy reading is damn hard writing. And if you find it an easy read, it's because she's worked very hard at it. And I think it was Poncella who said, when something can be read without effort, great effort has gone into that writing. And great effort goes into Malathi's writing. And to Malathi, as an editor, I pay this tribute. She never grudged editing or rewriting as many times as it was necessary to make a story work and its magic draw you into the vortex of the narrative. Her writing speaks to our hearts, directly to our hearts, as she pointed out so many times. And her style is never pretentious, and that's the marvelous thing about it. It never gives itself airs, as some authors do. And we love it, for as Pascal says, when we see a natural style, we are quite amazed and delighted, because we expected to see an author, and we see a man, in this case, a woman. It's the simplicity of human nature, it's the simplicity of one human being speaking to another that is part of the charm of her stories. But for all that, her stories tend to be quite literary, and I have to say that as one literature student to another. In its subtle use of metaphor and symbol, its allusions, so many allusions you would have recognized in this story, and very complex narrative techniques. No doubt we all know this. Every good story must have a beginning, must have a middle, and an end. But as Goddard says, not necessarily in that order. And in Malathi's novel, the constant and the complex interweaving of the past and the present, of reality and illusion, of memory and longing, can befuddle a casual reader. So I'm surprised that she was able to read and grasp all that in spite of talking to somebody on the telephone and traffic signals, etc. Only husband. She knows what he'll be saying anyway. I'm glad he's not here. All right. So Don Mackey once said, and I say this to you, Malathi, if you want to get rich from writing, write the sort of thing that is read by persons who move their lips when they are reading to themselves. But if this is the case, Malathi, I'm afraid you will never get rich. Not from writing anyway. But we, the readers, will go back richer for having read your stories. So thank you.